The earliest chariots were Mesopotamian battle wagons that were drawn by 4 onagers, a semi-wild donkey-like beast that's native to the Near East. These wagons had 4 wheels, which were not spoked but solid, and they were heavy and cumbersome, and if illustrations are any indication of how they were hitched to a draft team, they had very little directional control. It's thought that they mostly served as a platform that could be driven into a mass of enemies by a driver, while the accompanying spearmen then had the chance to throw a sheaf of javelins, which they didn't have to carry into battle as a foot-bound spearman would have had to do. Now, interestingly, the horse-drawn chariot came before and not after the development of mounted cavalry. This was because of the early stages of the domestication of the horse. Horses 4 millennia ago were rather light, scrawny creatures, and they were decent at pulling loads, but because of the low-quality fodder that they were fed, they were not that great for riding. And it would take an agricultural revolution, as well as a number of innovations in tack and saddle, to develop a mount that could consistently carry a mounted rider into battle. Now, what we think of as the chariot was not an Egyptian invention, but it came from the Hyksos people who invaded in 1700 BC. Now, the Hyksos had gotten the idea of a light vehicle with 2 spoked wheels and drawn by horses from the Indo-Iranians, who developed the concept about 3 centuries earlier. And crucial to this design was the development of steam-bent wood techniques. Now, steam-bent wood meant that the wheels and frame could be much lighter, and this in turn allowed the chariot designers to set the axle further back, which increased the vehicle's maneuverability. The lighter vehicle also meant a change from a 4-animal onager team to a team of 2 more trainable horses. To the average Egyptian soldier, the Hyksos must have seemed terrifying. Rather than the primitive Egyptian bows, the Hyksos used a composite bow capable of firing with much greater force. And Hyksos warriors carried bronze axes whose blade and socket were composed from a single piece of metal, and whose haft passed directly through the socket. And this was much less prone to falling apart during a fight, unlike the Egyptian axe that had the blade attached directly to the haft. Another Hyksos innovation was a wheeled platform drawn by horses that carried a driver and an archer or spearman. For 200 years, the Hyksos kings ruled Upper Egypt, and while the Theban kings still held the throne of Lower Egypt. And during this time, the Egyptians began to master the construction and use of horses, bows, improved axes, and chariots. Eventually, there was an uprising against their foreign overlords, and with the help of the Theban king, the Hyksos rulers were thrown out of the country. Now, the chariot at this time had light-spoked wheels and an axle at the rear of the platform, which increased its stability and maneuverability. Its construction was of leather and light, flexible wood, often ash, and to the Egyptian charioteers, the compound bow became the weapon of choice. Since both the bow and the chariot required a high degree of skill to use, a specialized elite warrior class was developed. And Egyptian charioteers were kind of the fighter jet pilots of the day. They formed elite squadrons of about 25 with a team assigned to each vehicle, and each team consisted of a driver, who seconded as a shield bearer, and a lightly armored warrior, who was equipped with a composite bow, spears, and a bronze khopesh or a mace. Interestingly, there were also support runners associated with each chariot. Now, with the exception of all-out charges, most chariots would move at a trot, and it was the runner's function to sprint alongside the vehicle, providing screening for the charioteers, acting as grooms for the horses, carrying the chariots over rough terrain, dispatching fallen enemies, and rescuing the chariot crew should something untoward happen. Now, Egyptian charioteers were trained to avoid direct battle, and they preferred to fight at range, and they would often use their speed and maneuverability to move away when an enemy got too close. It's thought that on the infrequent occasions where they were used as shock troops, they would charge forward and then turn at the last minute, with the intention that their foe would attempt to flee the forward-rushing vehicles. If the enemy did rout, the charioteer could use their bow and spears to run them down. Over the next centuries, the chariot began to move to the north and west, with its military usage moving from the Greeks, then to the Romans, and finally north to the Germanic tribes and the Celts. However, at this time, advances in animal breeding were also leading to bigger, stronger horses. By putting a warrior directly on a horse, rather than in a vehicle pulled by a pair of horses, it was simply more efficient and exponentially more flexible. And so the function of the chariot began to change from a military usage to more of a ceremonial or sporting aspect. However, their usage did continue well into the medieval ages. In fact, the hippodrome of the Byzantine Empire, where chariot races were held, continued until 1492, when Constantinople was invaded. Okay, today we're going to go over the rules for Armageddon /Chariot/PRESTAGS. Now, the game was made by SPI. In its initial incarnation, it came out as Armageddon, Tactical Combat 3000 to 500 BC. That came out in 1972, and it was designed by John Young. Then in 1975, it was released as a separate standalone game as Chariot, Tactical Warfare in the Biblical Age, 3000 to 500 BC. Finally, it was released along with a bunch of other games that used the same basic system as PRESTAGS, and that came out as the PRESTAGS Master Pack in 1976. For what it's worth, PRESTAGS stands for Pre-17th Century Tactical Game Systems. Now, when I present this, I'll use the basic rules of PRESTAGS, but then I'll probably bring back some of the rules from Chariot and Armageddon. PRESTAGS doesn't necessarily do the best job of presenting Chariot warfare. So let's go through some of the basics for this one. Now, the rules for these games are fairly simple. First of all, looking at the game equipment, there's a map, and the scale of the map is 1 hex to 50 meters. One unit's usually about 100 to 150 troops, and one turn is about 5 minutes. It also has a combat results table, a turn record, and a terrain effects chart. Units have quite a bit of information on them, and at the bottom here, they're distinguished by their strength, their class, and their movement. And then fire units also have 2 additional numbers. They have a fire strength, which is the overall strength with a missile weapon, and a range allowance, which is basically the range that you can fire. Also, the leader units have a combat bonus here that's added when they're fighting in melee, and a movement control radius, which indicates the number of hexes where it provides full movement to surrounding units. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. There are a number of different classes of units. First of all, there's melee units and fire units. And then the melee units are divided down into 3 classes, A, B, and C. A are kind of your general army units, and those include militia infantry, militia spearmen, light troops, professional spearmen, professional pikemen, and Class B are your axemen, your barbarian infantry, and your swordsmen. And then Class C are your cavalry units, and that includes light cavalry, medium cavalry, and heavy cavalry. And melee units of the same class can occupy the same hex in any combination. So any type A units can stack with other type A units, but they can't stack with a type B unit. And cavalry can't stack with infantry or anything. There's also missile units, and those are organized into 2 fire classes. There's foot fire and mounted fire. Foot fire is your class FF, and that's bowmen, improved bowmen, skirmishers, ballista, crossbowmen, arquebuses, that's the early, and then there's an arquebus late, and then longbowmen. And your class MF, or mounted fire, are your horsebowmen, your oriental cavalry, your Byzantine cataphracts, heavy artillery, and light artillery. Fire units of the same class can occupy the same hex in any combination. However, missile units of the 2 different classes can never be in the same hex. Also, foot fire units can be mixed with Class A or Class B melee units. Mounted fire units can mix with Class C or your cavalry melee units. Finally, there's also a miscellaneous class, and those are your Class D units. And they can only mix with other Class D units. Those include Viking fleets, elephants, and chariots. Now, leader units are grouped as Class E units, and they can mix with their own class and all other classes. Specific notes on the combat strength: it's the number quantifying the basic offensive and defensive power of a unit when it's engaged in melee, and it's expressed in terms of strength points. Now, fire attack strength is the number quantifying the basic offensive strength of a unit when it's firing its ranged missile weapons. And the range allowance is the maximum number of hexes through which a fire unit may fire. Now, range includes the target hex, but not the firing hex. Now, also note that some units have both a fire attack strength and a melee combat strength. Now, certain units have a dot melee value instead of a melee combat strength, and these units cannot engage in offensive melee combat. However, when they're not stacked with any other unit, they're considered to have a melee combat strength of 1. There's also units that have a bracketed melee combat strength. Now, when they're attacking, you use the number in the brackets, and when they're defending, they have half that number of strength points. Now, each turn is divided down into a number of phases. Now, every player turn begins with a chariot movement phase, where the chariots can begin their first movement. This is followed by a fire combat phase, and this is where the phasing player can shoot missiles at their enemy units. And then there's a movement phase where the phasing player can move all of their units up to the limit of that unit's movement allowance. Now, at the end of this, the non-phasing player has the option to execute a defensive fire phase, and basically they can fire at the phasing player's units. This is followed by a melee combat phase, and the phasing player can execute all melee attacks against adjacent enemy units that they wish. And finally, there's a disruption recovery phase, and this is where the player can remove disruption markers from the previous turn. This then goes to the second player turn, where they follow the same procedures, and at the end of both players' turns, the turn is over, and you advance the game turn marker 1, and you check to see if panic ensues. Now, all units have a particular side, which is their front, and this includes 3 hex sides, and it's indicated by the unit type symbol on each counter. Obviously, the 3 front hex sides are referred to as the front, and the 3 rear hex sides are referred to as the flank. And this reflects the battle formation orientation of a group of men that the counter represents. Now, as the unit moves, it can only enter into one of the 3 front hexes. And before it enters a hex, its facing is reoriented so that the front of the counter is facing the hex to be entered. Now, a unit can only attack enemy units in hexes which are in front of it. And a unit can only use its melee strength for defense if it's attacked solely from front hexes. Now, if it's attacked in part or whole through flank hex sides, the attacker from that specific hex side doubles its melee strength. Now, if 2 units are stacked in the same hex, they can face different directions, and if they face 180 degrees from each other, the enemy's flank attack bonus is nullified. Now, units can freely change their facing one hex side. However, if they change facing 2 or more hex sides, then they expend 1 movement point. Now, during the movement phase of a player's turn, the player can move as many or few of their units as they wish, and they can move up to the number of movement points in their movement allowance. Now, a unit without sufficient movement points to complete a move can't move into a hex. Now, it's important to note that units must start their movement in the control radius of a leader to make a full movement, and if they're not, their movement points are halved. Also, like most other war games, a unit moving into a road hex through a non-road hex has to pay the entry cost of the other terrain in the hex. Now, it always costs 2 movement points to move across a slope hex, and it doesn't matter whether you're moving up, down, or across the slope. And also, a unit which moves from a slope hex into an adjacent hilltop hex through a hex side marked by the slope splash symbol expends 2 movement points. Now, any undisrupted unit in the game can always move 1 hex in any direction in any possible terrain, and this is to prevent units from being trapped through a loss of movement points or terrain entry costs. We've talked a little bit about stacking when we've talked about the specific type of movements, but let's go into it in a little more detail. Now, stacking limitations don't apply during the movement phase, and units can always move through a hex containing friendly units. The exception to this is Class C and D units, and remember D is the elephants and the chariots, and they cannot move through friendly hexes. Each player has certain stacking limitations, and those are assigned to them by the given scenario. And at the end of the player's movement phase, they can have no more than that stated limit of units in any single hex. Now, all units in the same hex always defend as 1 indivisible total of strength points, and the attacker cannot in any way separately attack enemy units placed in the same hex. Now, stacks can be moved together at the movement rate of the slowest movement allowance in the stack, or faster units can separate out at any point during the move. And units can never enter or pass through a hex containing enemy units. Also note that enemy units exert zones of control, and if a friendly unit passes into a hex adjacent to an enemy unit, it has to stop for that turn. Now, zones of control are not sticky in this game, and if a unit begins its movement phase in an enemy zone of control, they can leave that zone of control and move normally, or they can move 1 hex within that enemy zone of control. Melee combat takes place during the melee combat phase of a player's turn, and the phasing player is considered to be the attacker, the non-phasing player is the defender, regardless of their overall strategic position. And a unit can only melee enemy units in adjacent hexes. And combat is resolved by totaling the melee strength of the attacking units and comparing this to the total of the melee strengths of the defender. Now, this comparison is expressed as a ratio of attacker strength to defender strength, and then it's simplified to combat odds on the combat results table. Always remember you round down in the defender's favor, and the die is rolled. The numbers cross-reference with the appropriate combat odds column to achieve a combat result, which is applied immediately. Now, not every unit in an attacker stack needs to participate in an attack, and they don't have to participate in the same attack upon the same defending hex. So if one of the units is attacking, the other units can engage in other attacks or none at all. If a unit in a stack is attacking one enemy hex, the other unit in the stack can attack another enemy hex. However, all defenders' units stacked in the same hex have to be treated as one combined defensive melee strength when they're attacked. Also, the units in any one defending hex can only be subjected to one attack during the melee combat phase. And finally, units disrupted by the defensive fire combat cannot participate in any subsequent melee phase. Now, friendly units in different hexes adjacent to the same defending hex can participate in a combined attack against that hex, regardless of the unit class. And in such cases, you combine all the melee strength points of the attacking units into one total strength value. And here's an example showing how they have to be adjacent. And here's an example of where they're not adjacent, and you would have to make two separate attacks. Now, if attacked by melee combat, any unit in a hex can retreat one hex to an unblocked hex if the printed movement allowance of all the defending units in that hex exceeds the printed movement allowance of the fastest attacking unit by 3 movement points or more. And they may not pass through any enemy zones of control. Now, if you do use the retreat before combat option, the attacker can advance into the vacated hex and no further, and they cannot attack again. Now, units that retreat before combat are subject to any attack brought to bear against that new hex. And victorious units advancing after the retreat before combat are not subjected to defensive fire as a result of their advance. Also, when any hex is vacated as a result of combat, then the attacking units can advance at the player's discretion into the vacated hex. And normal stacking limits have to be observed, and the option to advance must be exercised immediately following the combat result. Also note that melee strength of units can be affected by terrain, and you can look at the terrain effects chart to see what these effects are. Looking specifically at the combat results table, note that attacks at odds less than 1 to 2 are not permitted, and that odds greater than 8 to 1 are simply treated as 8 to 1. Now, there's several results that can occur. The first is the dash, which means nothing occurs. There's also a D, which is the disruption, and the affected units are tagged by placement of a disruption marker. There's also 1/2 E, which is half eliminated. Now, this means that 1/2 of the units attacked are eliminated. This is not strength points, this is units. And the defender has the choice of which unit they want to remove. Also note that the remainder are disrupted. And if there are an odd number of units defending, then the majority of the units would be eliminated. And you do not count leader units when you're calculating this half of the stack. Also, there's E, which is fully eliminated. It means all the units attacked are removed from the map sheet. Now, disruption is an important part of the game, and units which are disrupted can't initiate combat, they can't employ fire, or they can't be moved for the duration of their disruption, although they do still exert a zone of control in relation to enemy units. And disruption affects leader units, and we'll talk about that when we talk about leader units. Now, when disrupted units or stacks containing at least one disrupted unit are attacked by fire or melee, the attacker adds 1 to the die roll number before resolving the attack. If a unit which is currently disrupted is attacked and you get a second disruption, then that unit is eliminated. Players engage in fire combat during their friendly fire combat phase, and fire units can only attack through their front hexes, and this is true of normal fire combat and defensive fire. The target has to be within the unit's range allowance, and it has to have a clear line of sight. And during fire combat phase, the phasing player allocates units to attack enemy-occupied hexes. Now, fire combat's a little different than melee combat, in that each attack is resolved by comparing the total of all the attacking units' fire combat strengths to the fire protection strength, and this is based off of the terrain of the defender's hex, not the type of unit, and you find this on the terrain effects chart. However, like melee combat, you simply compare these numbers to come up with a combat odds ratio, and you roll a dice and refer to the combat results table. Now, in defending against fire combat, facing has no bearing whatsoever. Defense in fire combat is always based on the terrain fire protection strength. So remember, if you have, say, 6 strength points in a clear area, which has a terrain fire protection strength of 3, then all of these units are going to defend as 3. Now, fire units cannot engage in offensive melee combat in the same friendly player turn in which they've engaged in fire combat. However, they can move. And there's no limit to the number of fire units that can fire into a given hex. And different fire units can attack into the same hex, even if there are different firing ranges of different unit types or in different hexes. However, you always combine these fire attack strengths into one attack. And in fire combat, combat results apply to all units in the affected hex. Line of sight's pretty simple. Fire units cannot fire through melee units. villages or wood hexes to reach a target. They can fire into or from villages or wood hexes. And units on a slope can fire into but not through a hilltop hex. Slope hexes block fire unless either the firing or the target unit is on the hilltop hex, which is adjacent to the slope in question. And foot fire units cannot fire from stream or ford hexes. They can fire from bridge hexes, and they can fire into river, ford, or bridge hexes. Now, at the end of the enemy player's movement phase, the undisrupted fire units can fire upon enemy units that are within one front hex. However, they cannot make this attack if they have engaged in that round's fire combat phase. Basically, this means that players can't make two fire attacks in the same turn. There are 4 levels of leaders in the game, ranking from 1 to 4, with 1 being the best and 4 being the worst. And leaders have 2 characteristics. They have a leadership combat bonus, and this is the digit printed on the left of the counter. And they have a movement control bonus, which is printed on the right of the counter. Now, the leadership combat bonus is applied to melee strength points of the units that it shares a hex with, and it applies in both offensive and defensive situations. And to gain the leadership combat bonus, units have to be stacked with a leader unit at the instant of combat. If there are more than one leader in a hex, you can add all these bonuses together. Now, units that are stacked with a leader are never disrupted. However, the leader does lose 1 level at the cost of nullifying a disruption, and this also occurs if a half elimination result is applied to the unit stacked with a leader. Now, if a 4-level leader is reduced, then it's eliminated. Now, finally, an elimination result still causes the complete elimination of all units, including the leaders, regardless of their level in the affected hex. Now, with the leader's movement control radius, units that begin their movement within the number of hexes of a leader's movement control radius can move their full number of movement points, even if that movement takes them out of their leader's movement control radius. Now, friendly units that begin their movement outside of the leader's movement control radius have only 1/2 the number of movement points, and you round that up. Finally, leaders alone can rally panicked friendly units. At the end of each friendly movement phase, all panicked units adjacent or stacked with a 1 or 2 leader, and all panicked units stacked with a 3 or 4 leader are rallied, and they're returned to an unpanicked state for the remainder of the game. And now at the end of every turn, where both sides have gone, you check for panic. And each unit has a victory point value equal to its strength. The game rules as written are a little different, but I like to keep it simple. So you total all lost victory points up, and if it exceeds the panic value of the scenario, that side panics in the next turn. So in the first turn, after a panic result occurs, you turn all the units 180 degrees, however, you do not move them. And in every turn thereafter, panic units move their full movement allowance towards the side of the map that they're facing, and they follow the shortest route. And as I noted above, leader units have the ability to rally these panicked units. Now, troops can only panic once per game, and rallied troops are immune from further panicking. Now, there are 3 different versions of the Chariot rules in this game system. There's the original Armageddon rules, there's the Chariot rules, and then there's finally the PRESTAGS rules. And I made some adjustments to the Chariot rules based mostly off the rules of the original Armageddon game. In Chariot and PRESTAGS, the Chariot units are just there to haul units around the battlefield, and I feel that Chariots need to be dangerous and scary to the enemy. So I let the Chariots augment both the combat effectiveness and the movement of units. Now, as Chariots were elite units, I say that their movement is not affected by the leadership movement radius rules. So Chariots have 2-part movement, and they can move a total of up to 9 hexes. They move up to 5 hexes during their Chariot movement phase, and up to 4 hexes in the normal movement phase. And this is irregardless of their location with the leaders. Now, Chariots can pick up units in an adjacent hex at the beginning of either of their 2 movements. Thus, they can move during the Chariot phase, pick up a unit, and move again during their movement phase. And if a Chariot drops off a unit, then that unit's placed in an adjacent hex. Now, unlike the rules in Chariot and PRESTAGS, I say the following units can be used with Chariots to augment their combat abilities: Militia Infantry, Militia Spearmen, Light Troops, Axemen, Barbarian Infantry, Swordsmen, and Skirmishers. And this only affects the melee value of Skirmishers. Now, an augmented attack from a Chariot occurs if the Chariot can make a 4 or more hex charge on an enemy. And this charge occurs in the fan-shaped area to the front of a Chariot, and it ends adjacent to the enemy. It can move through enemy zones of control, but it can't be deflected by an enemy or move around them, like in this situation. It can also only charge through clear terrain, and when the Chariot does charge the enemy, the attack is made 2 columns to the right on the combat results table. Now, bowmen, leaders, and improved bowmen can also be moved by Chariots, but this does not improve their combat capabilities. With the bowmen and improved bowmen, you would want to use the chariot to get them into combat, have them fire, and then get them out of the combat. Now, units on chariots can attack at the end of the chariot movement phase, but they can't attack again in the same turn. Now, obviously, chariots have a hard time crossing streams, slopes, and hexsides. So when they try to cross these hexes, movement stops for the rest of the turn, while the chariot is moved through the difficult terrain. Also note that chariots can only charge a unit that is in a clear space, and they cannot charge a unit on the other side of a hill, a slope, or a stream. Okay, we're going to play the scenario, the Delta, 1675 BC. Now, this is a fictional account of the Hyksos invasion of Egypt, where the Egyptians first ran across the chariots and the axes of the Hyksos people. And a little bit of information here from the scenario description. Now, this is in the rules. It tells you how many units you can start with, and then the leader's values are here. It tells you victory points, and it shows you a panic level. And the nice thing about this Vassal module is it keeps track of your panic levels as you delete pieces. There's also a deployment, and for the deployment it shows a hex, and for instance P here. For the Hyksos, they're deploying at P4. So that means deploy at P, and then they can deploy 4 hexes away from it. So I've got them set up here, and I'll go through deployment a little bit. The Egyptians, I messed up on this one. I could go back and redo it, but I think I'm going to go ahead and just play. I thought it was J5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These guys are too far down, so we'll put those guys up a little bit. And let's see. And then there's also, it shows your stacking. Now the Hyksos can stack 2 units on top of each other, and the Egyptians can only stack 1. And then your victory conditions are control of hex K by the end of game turn 10. In other words, and also the number of game length is 10 turns, and we've got a turn record track here that shows our 10 turns here. So basically, the Hyksos have to capture this K hex by turn 10. If they do not, then the Egyptians win. You can set them up pretty much how you like. So with the Egyptians, I went ahead and set up these units, these missile units, right along this ridge here, so that they're protected from those Hyksos chariots rushing them. And then I set some back up here to kind of act as a reserve. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Put him here. Okay, with the Hyksos, I went ahead and tried to put the leaders around so they can move, because they're going to be the ones that are going to have to do all the movement. So they need leaders around. And I put chariots in position so they can try to rush. They're going to have to try to rush into these 2 valleys here. I guess it's another reason why I like this sort of setup, is it kind of makes the Hyksos have to work around this mountain. Let's see, anything else about this? I don't think so. Hyksos begin their turn. I think let's go ahead and get started with the actual play. I used a little contact marker down here to show the phases. And since the Hyksos get to go first, they're going to go first with their chariots. And I think, like I said before, I made the rule that the chariots can move independently of leaders. With the 2 chariot phases, it makes record keeping a lot easier. Okay, 1, 2, and they can go 5 and 4. 1, 2, and then they can slide over 3, 4, 5, and then this guy can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Oh, and this guy, I'll just embark with this axe guy on this chariot. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, I think one of these chariots, I put, they only had 1 missile guy. I thought I had a missile guy. Now, it would be more interesting if you could have a missile guy with the chariots, but I guess he's not with them. There he is. I should have put him on a chariot. Let's do that, just to make things interesting and show that rule. Let's put this guy here. And there. Okay. That's the chariot move. Now, I don't think anybody can do anything else. And then we have fire combat. And that won't matter because this is the only firing guy. And you have to be within 2 hexes. 1, 2. So nothing there. We go to red regular movement. And I'm going to go with our chariots again. Okay, now I need to get it so... This is the hard part about chariots, is you got to get them so that they can make that 4 hex charge. One, 2, 3, 4. And we will turn it 1. Okay, and we'll do the same 1, 2, 3, 4. And I will turn this guy 1. And then 1, 2, 3. We're just going to go 3 there. And turn him 1. And, you know, I don't really want to be down here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, then these guys can move. Now, he's with a leader, so he can move 4, 3, 4. This guy's with a leader, so he can move 3. 1, 2, 3. This guy can move. He's within 1 of a leader. 2, 3, and then... Oh, but this leader has a... He has a movement thing of 0, so that doesn't actually... He can only go 1, 2. Okay. This leader here has 1, so we can go 1, 2, 3, and then... What's he with? These guys are 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3, and then this guy can go a half move. 1, 2. This leader has a move. These guys can both move. Oh, I forgot these guys. 1, 2, 3, 4. Nope. 1, 2, 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Now, I could have moved this guy into position. He could have fired and ran off, and that's what we want to use those guys for. Have I moved these guys? 1, 2. What's his movement? Yeah, he moves... Oh, he can move 5. We'll move here. And then 1, 2, 3. Well, these guys move. 3, 1, 2, 3, and then this guy can move 2. Oh no, he can move 3. 3 and... Oh, this chariot, I forgot to move him. So we'll just move him 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And that is the movement. Okay, yellow defensive fire. And so we look at our ranges here. This guy's got a range of 1. 1. This guy's got a range of 3. 1, 2, 3. So everybody's out of range, which is kind of what I wanted. I wanted to stop out of range. So that's good. No melee combat and no disruption. Okay, now we move to the yellow's turn. Let's flip this guy. And we've got yellow chariot move. I've got the cat rubbing against my microphone here. So if you hear a noise, that's the cat. One of the cats. I got too damn many cats. Hey, buddy. Okay, these guys are going to stay put. But I am going to try to get this guy... And then these guys, I think I'm going to move him over here. Let's see. He's got to move this way. Rotate 1. And then you can go 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And we will rotate him. I want to keep this guy here. And rotate it this way. And I'm assuming that you guys can understand that I'm trying to get these guys moved around. They're staying within their movement thing. Okay, do I want to move these guys, or do I want to... 2, 3. Oh, okay. There's a leader here. One, two. 1, 2, 1. Okay. And I'll move these guys forward. There we go. I think I got everybody pretty much here. I think I'm going to try to use these as reserves. And that should work. Okay. Yellow fire. Nobody can fire still. And then yellow movement. Well, that was fire. I'm sorry, I'm behind. Okay, that was movement. And then red defensive fire. And nobody's in defensive fire stage, so. Okay, yellow combat, nothing. And then a mutual recovery, nothing. So that gives us, that is the beginning of turn 1. We go to turn 2. And the chariots get to go. Now this time we can actually attack. We can go 1, 2, 3, 4. They have to have 4. 1, 2, 3. Oh, shoot, he didn't make it. Okay. 2, 3, 4. Oh, he can. If they have to go at least 4. They can go 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we've got those 3. And then this guy. Oh, he can't move yet. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, all those chariots are going. Let's see. I thought I had one with a bow. Didn't I? Well, I thought I put a chariot with a bow, but I didn't. I don't know. Okay, let's keep playing. I've delayed this long enough. I was actually supposed to get this out yesterday, and I didn't get it together. That happens with these videos. Luckily, I'm building up a bucket of saved games so that I can try to stay consistent about getting something out every week. That does seem to help my viewership a little bit. Okay, that was the chariot movement. Now the chariots get to go. And we've got 3 and 6, and that's doubled. No, 3 to 6 to 2. So 3 to 1. Let's look at our CRTs here. 3 to 1, but then we shift it by 2 columns, so it's 4 to 1, 5 to 1. And we roll a die and get a 5. 5 to 1, 5 is an eliminated. So I can eliminate this, and you can see that that gives me my panic level here. Okay, do I want to move in that hex? Yes, I do. No, I don't. No, I don't. I want to, because I'm going to try to have to... charges are great, but they have to recharge your charge. So let's go here with a 6, and that's going to be a 6 to 3. So 2 to 1, and we're going to go 4 to 1 odds. We roll a 4, and a half eliminated, so that means this guy's eliminated. Okay, and then here we have a 3, 6 to 3, 2 to 1, so that's going to be 4 to 1 again. And this is one of those civilian leaders, so they don't add anything. There's that 0 there, so they don't add anything. So 4 to 1, and I roll a 3. 4 to 1 to 3 is a disordered, but this guy, he'll absorb it. So we eliminate that leader. Okay. Now we've got these 2 fighting up here, and this guy is going to be a 6 to 3, 2 to 1 odds. With a 4. And that actually comes out to be 4 to 1, half eliminated, so that'll eliminate him. And then here we've got a 3, 6, 12 to 3, 4 to 1, so 6 to 1 odds with a 3, half eliminated. So again, this leader will absorb it. Oops. Leadership rules aren't too bad in this. I don't mind them so much. Okay. And that is the end of the first chariot move. red fire combat. There's no... Oh, this guy. I forgot to move this guy. Well, we'll move him in. And what we're going to do, I'm going to just show this. So let's just say he moves his 2 for the first round. He makes his fire combat. And with fire combat, we have a strength of 2. And we're going to fire right here. And that's in clear terrain. However, it's over a slope. So a slope adds a protection factor of 4. Okay. So it's going to be 2 to 4. And we roll, or 1 to 2 with a 4, nothing. Okay. If it would have been a 6, we would have disrupted, but it didn't. Okay. And that's the only archer I have. Oh, I've got this guy. Okay. I should have put him on a chariot too. Okay. Red, that was, now red can move. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this guy back so he doesn't get defensive fire. So I rotate him. Whoops. Let's rotate him for 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And he's out of range now. I probably should have had more. If I would have had more archers, that would have been nice. Okay, then I can move everybody else. Let's move these guys. Oh, let's get these guys moved back. So we're going to rotate. Oops. Ah, this is really fiddly here. Okay. So to turn around costs 1, 2, 3, 4. And then to turn around costs 1, 2, 3. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then to turn around, rotate. Oops. One, 2, 3, 4. And 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. This gets an interesting thing here. He can actually come up and make a rear attack, which will double. So let's just see what happens there. Now then the rest of these guys are going to move into position. And we went 1, 2. And then here this guy's going to go 3, 1, 2, 3. Let's see. He can go 1, 2, 3, and then 1, 2. So that guy got 2 or 3? 3. Okay. Let's see. This guy was out of range, so he can only go 2. And then this guy can go 2. He was out of range. This guy can go 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. Actually, we're going to go here. 1, 2. I'm going to go out of range. I'm going to try to stay out of range here. 1, 1, and then... Oh, this guy's in a chariot. Oh, he's got a leader with him. Okay. I need to get him... I'll keep him around. That's not a bad guy to have a leader there because we can keep guys moving if we have to. Okay, then we go to the yellow defensive fire phase. And yellow can, let's see, we got 1, 2, 3. Nobody's in range here. These guys are in range. So it's going to be 2 to... Let's check our terrain effects chart. Clear is 3. So 1 to 2 odds. We need a 6 or better. Nothing. Okay, here we have a 1, 2, 3. Again, we need a 6 or better. Oh, okay, we got a 6. So that disrupted... Which guys? This guy's here. So they are now disrupted. Oh, I need to also remember to show these guys as fired. And I take the fire markers off at just the very end of the turn. That's the way I remember this. Okay, this guy, oh, he did not fire. But this guy did, and this guy did. Marked fired. Okay, this 2, he can't do anything. This guy can fire, which I think I will go ahead and do a defensive fire. And this guy can fire. So we will go here and here. And we don't add the, you don't add to the leaders can't add to your firepower. Okay, so we got 2, 4 to 3. Oh yeah, the slopes don't do anything. Okay, so it's 1-to-1 odds here. We'll roll a 5 at 1-to-1, and that's going to give us a D. So these guys are now actually that's going to be absorbed by this leader. So leaders are falling like I don't know what they're falling like. Man, my similes are gone there. Okay. So they've fired. Now we go into the red combat melee. And I don't think a slope has no effect on melee. No, it does not. Okay. So we're going to melee here. I don't think I've got anybody else that can melee. So 3-to-2, 1-to-1 odds. With a 2, I don't think that's going to be anything. Nope. Okay, we need a 4, 5, or 6. Oh, okay, and that is the end. Mutual recovery, so basically the opposite side would recover. So these guys can't do anything. Now we go to the yellow chariot phase, nothing. Yellow fire phase. Now, these guys have already fired. I can't say, I think you can fire. I'm going to go with most rules here that say the line of sight is going to go down the line here. So I will say they can fire. So it's going to be 2-to-3 odds, 1-to-2. He's fired, he's fired, he's fired. Okay, so 1-to-2 odds there with the 2, nothing. Okay, so now everybody's fired. Then the yellows can move. Now here's the interesting thing. I can do 1. Oh no. Okay, I was going to say this guy could go 1, 2, 3, but he can't because... Oh, he can, because he's in a leader. The leader is right here, and they've got a 2 hex movement thing, so they can go 1, 2, 3. He can do this. 2, 3. I'm going to move everybody here just over a little bit. And I'll go here. I'll say he can go there. These guys are kind of where I want them. I'll go here and rotate. Here and rotate. Here and rotate. And this guy will move down. That's about all I want everybody to do. So they've moved. We can go through a red defensive fire, but I think everybody's fired that can fire. Nope. Oh, that guy here. I think he's already done his thing, so. Okay, so there's no red defensive fire. Then we go to yellow melee combat. Now, these guys have fired, so they can't melee. And I think the only guy that can actually melee is this guy here, and it's going to be a 3-to-3 odds, 1-to-1, but he's fighting from behind, so that's doubled. So it's 2-to-1 odds with a 5. That's going to hurt. 2-to-1 with a 5 is a disrupted. And I want these guys to both be disrupted. Okay. And then we're done. Okay. They cannot... I don't think there's any disruptions for yellow, so the Egyptians are cool there. We're ready to go to the next turn. I forgot to flip this guy. So we'll go to next turn here, and it's red. We'll go to red chariot movement. Let's go ahead. Oh, we can get rid of all of our moved and fire. There. Okay, everybody's moved and fire. Now the chariots get to go. Now this creates a problem because I've got to be able to get these guys moved around. Okay, let's start with this guy here. He can't move. This guy can move, and he needs to get in a position where he can become within 4. So we're going to go here, 1, and then we're going to rotate 2. There we go. Okay. I can't do anything. This chariot here, he can go 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then he can fire. And then this chariot can turn. And we're going to make the movement the turn. And I just thought of something here. Is I need to get these guys moved around, because I've done that before where I played this, where they basically fought for a while, and I realized, oh, I got to get them around here. So this guy's going to sneak 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And that is it for the chariots. I don't think there's anybody charging, so we're good there. Okay, we go to red movement. Oh, red fire combat. That's the next one. Okay, this guy can fire. And he's going to go against this guy. And it's 1 to 2 odds. Needs a 6. Doesn't do anything. Okay, then we're going to move. And basically, I'm going to turn for 1, 2, and then turn back. So we'll just say that goes there. Okay, mark him as moved. Then this guy's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 and attack. 1, 2, 3, 4 and attack. 1, 2, 3, 4 and attack. 1, 2, 3, 4 and attack, and stays there. And then 1, 2, 3. Move this guy into. Wait, hold on. Oh yeah, he's in range. Okay. This guy will move. And then 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2. I think I can't do anything. 1, 2. Here, this guy can move 2. And this guy is in a chariot. Oh, he's in a chariot. Okay. Oh, and he was one of those guys. 1. Okay, I should have used this guy. I forgot about him. Okay, let's go ahead and figure out our combats here. And the combats will be 6, 12, 4 to 1, 6 to 1, right? That's 3 and 6. We double it because it's a chariot, so that's 12 to 3. Yeah, 4 to 1, 6 plus 2 is 6 to 1. 6 to 1 with a 5 is an elimination. Okay, and then here we've got 3, 6 to 3. So 4 to 1 with a 1 is going to be a disrupted. Here we've got a 3, 6 to 3, 2 to 1 with a 6. That's a half elimination, or an elimination in this case. Whoops. Here we've got a 3, 6, 9 to 2. 9 to 1. Okay, that's 6 to 1 because this is, he defends at half. He attacks at 2, but he defends at 1. So 6-to-1 odds with a 5 is an elimination. Now we'll move in. I'm going to actually say I'm moving into this position, into this position. Okay, here we have a 3 to 3-to-1. 2. That's a disruption, so this guy's eliminated here. And here we have a 3. Did he fire? I don't think he fired. I can't remember. Okay, we're just going to say 5-to-1. With a 1, it's a disruption. And then here we have a 2, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 1. So that's 6-to-1 with a 5. 7-to-1. Oh, we got 7-to-1 odds with 5. Okay, that's eliminated. And here we have a 12. So 4-to-1, 5-to-1, 6-to-1, 3. Which isn't eliminated. Okay. I keep forgetting there's 7-to-1 and 8-to-1 odds. I wish they would give one of those up for a 3-to-2 odds. That would be kind of nice. I might do that as a house rule. Change this 2-to-1 to a 3-to-2, and then make it 2-to-1, 3-to-1, so on. But okay, that was movement. Darn, I forgot yellow defensive fire. Well, we'll say yellow defense. We'll just say yellow skips their defensive fire. Okay, we've got something else that's going on here. Yellow panic is at 17. Okay, so they get to play the rest of the turn, and then they get to panic. Okay, that's melee. Neutral this weekend, no longer disrupted, and then these guys are no longer disrupted. Okay, yellow chariot, yellow fire. Now we can move the yellow. We'll just say they held their fire. Okay, this guy's got a... He can't fire there. He can... No, that's not line of sight. Okay. This guy can go 2, and then 4-to-3, 1-to-1 odds right here. 6. Okay, that's a disruption, so we eliminate that guy. This guy can't do anything. And then this guy will fire here and here. So 4-to-2 with a 1. I'm sorry, that's a 1-to-1 with a 1. I got that wrong. Okay, and that's all the firing. So they've fired. And whoops. This was over a lot faster than I normally will have played this. Okay, next, yellow can go again. And I'm going to say he's going to go 1, 2, 1, and he'll change, rotate, 2, rotate, 3. Okay, going to move him 1, 2, and him here, and him here. Okay, move him here, move him here. Here. He can move 2. Let's see, terrain effects chart. Let's see, a stream is 2 movement points, so he can move there. This guy can move 1, 2, 3. Oh, he's just out of range. Okay. Oh, he's in there. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oh, you can't. Okay. We still need to be protected back here, so I'm going to leave those guys alone. Okay, now yellow can fight back. Let's see, yellow movement, red defensive fire. I don't think there's any defenders that can fire. I think he fired during this already. So he's good. So now we yellow combat. And yellow combat's going to be 3, 2. So 2 to 1 here. With a 6. Ooh. Okay, this guy's disordered again. Or disrupted. Okay, then this we got 2, 5, 6, 7. And this is actually 8, 9, 10, 11 because he's twice because he's hitting from the flank. So 11 to 6. So it's 1 to 1. This is where the 3 to 2 would come in useful. Nothing. Okay, here we've got a... Can't remember, did I... This guy fired. Okay. This guy moved, and he's 2 to 4, 1 to 2 odds with a 2, nothing. Okay, here he fired. Here he did anything. Here we've got 2, 4, 2, 6. 1 to 2 with a 4, nothing. That's it. Okay. Then we can take off our disruptions. We can take off our make our fire markers can go off. Every movement marker comes off, and we are good to go. Now then, we check, and we see the panic loss is 2. And so we've got to take into effect panic. So I'm going to say all these guys can rotate. Rotate, rotate, rotate. And the rules aren't real good for this, but I'm just going to say they're going to try to have to go off of either this corner somewhere up here. There we go. Okay, this guy's not panicked. He's rallied. Ah, this takes too long. Sorry about this, guys. He's not panicked. And, oh, this guy's got, he's a 3, so this guy's not going to be panicked because they're in range. This guy's not panicked. This guy's not panicked. And then this guy's panicked. Oops. I can't show him as panicked. Let's see. Ah. Now, this is a little bit... The panic rule works in something like the Battle of Marathon, I've noticed. Doesn't work so well for this, but... And I think you move at full movements when you're panicked, so it doesn't matter whether you're in the leader's thing or not. So rotate, let's see, rotate and rotate. Oh my gosh, what a mess. So a Roman goes into a bar, holds up 2 fingers and says, 5 beers, please. There's a history joke for you. Okay, there we go. Now we're ready to go. Let's get it right. Red chariot. Okay, the chariot can leave. Oh, but he can't go through a... Okay, so this presents an interesting... Can a chariot leave through a zone of control? I'm going to say he does. He can go... I guess since they're panicked, we're good. Okay. This chariot could go 1, 2, 3. He can't really go anywhere. Move him here. This chariot can't really go anywhere. This guy, I'll go here. And I think I will move. We'll just move those guys there. They can't really charge. I'll just basically hold him into place. He'll move here. And then he'll go turn around for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We'll just move there. Okay, that's about all for the chariots. They've really done their thing in all this. Okay, we go to the red movement. And at this point I can move. Okay, 1. Let's see, rotate 2, 3. We're going to turn around. There we go. Okay. These guys will leave go. They can't move anymore because they're in their turn. Oh, he can move. Okay. Oh, but he can't go forward. Okay. Then 1, 2. 1, 2. 1, 2. And 1, 2. Okay, now we ought to have some fun here. This 6 here is going to go against this 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And he is fighting. This is kind of hard to figure out. Okay, I'm going to say here is at 7. And I'm going to have to decrease these by 1, I think, to show that they're being a rear attack. So this is going to be 3, 4, 5. So 6 to 5 is 1-to-1 odds. Oh, yeah. Okay, with a 1, so that's nothing. Okay, then here we've got a 3, 6 to 2 to 1. That's going to be 8-to-1 odds because he's attacking from behind. So that's a 2 at 8-to-1 is an elimination. And then 3-to-1 odds. Actually, that's 6-to-1. With a 6, so that's an elimination. And then here we've got a... Oh, we should have put in a... Oh, red movement. Okay, we get yellow defensive fire. We'll give them a chance to... These guys would still be able to fire. So they're at 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to fire right down in here. So 2-to-1 odds with a 2. Nothing. Okay. Show that he fired. And he fired. And that's... Okay, oh, and this guy can fire. So 1-to-2 odds, nothing over here. Okay. Okie doke. Now then, red movement. We've talked about that. I'm going to turn him around a little bit. Okay, there's where I want him. Okay, now then we can go through. That's our yellow defensive fire, red melee combat. Let's go ahead and start with that. And I've got 2, 4 to 2, and that's actually 8-to-2, 4-to-1 odds with a 3 is going to be a disruption. Oops, not that guy. Here we go. Disruption. Okay, we've got 3. Oh, these guys are disrupted. No, that guy's not disrupted, I don't think. Okay, we got 6 to 4. 1-to-1 with a 3. Nothing. Here we've got a 2, 5-to-1 with a 4. Half eliminated. So with a half eliminated, this eliminates this unit. Okay, and then we've got a... He didn't fire. I'm going to go ahead and say he can... I'll let him fire this phase. This is out of phase, but that's okay. Mark fired. Okay. So 5 to... Oh, that's just 1 to 2. Nothing. Okay. Nothing here, nothing here, nothing here, and nothing there. We've already fought that. Okay. That is it. So mutual disruption. This guy just got disrupted. Oh, he got disrupted last time, so he's okay. We can undisrupt him. And then we go to yellow chariot move, nothing. Yellow fire combat. They've already fired. Yellow movement. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll move him. I'll move him here. 1, 2, 3. 5. Okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, get those. Oh, they couldn't have gone, so that's okay. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1. Oh, 1. He has to stop there. And those guys are still holding on. Okay. I'll move down here. And we will move here. And... Okay, red defensive fire. Red doesn't have any defensive fire to make. And then yellow combat. Okay, yellow combat is just going to be this guy here. 2 to 6. Can't do anything. 2 to 6. Can't do anything. Okay. Mutual recovery. Okay, this guy can recover. And I think we are... Actually, did I miss a turn? I think I missed a turn here. Okay, I think we're at turn 5. Okay, we go back. We'll just say we start turn 5 now. Chariots can move 1, 2, 3, 4. He has to stop. I'm going to let this guy attack. Actually, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I can say he can attack there. 1, 2, 3. He can attack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then this guy's got to turn around. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Nothing. 5. Okay. This guy's too close. Shoot. He's too darn close. I suppose we could go here. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's see if he could turn around. Yeah, he could get there and turn around. Okay, so we got 1 chariot attack, and it's going to be at 3, 6, 12 to 2, 6 to 1 odds with a 2. Half eliminated. That eliminates this guy. And we'll go into that. Okay, and then this guy here has got a 6 to 3, and this is doubled because it's 6, and he's attacking from behind, so it's actually going to be 12. no, yeah, 3, that's 6, 12 to 3. 4 to 1 odds with a 1. And that's a disrupted. Okay, that's it for the chariots. We go to red fire combat. That guy's got nobody in range, so nobody. Red movement. This time, oh, yeah, I can go there. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. He can't make it. Darn it. Okay. 1, 2, 3. He can. 2. This guy can. 2, 3. And then 1, 2. Okay. And that guy had to stop. Okay, yellow defensive fire. Well, yeah, we can fire. I need to take off the fire markers. Let's see, fire markers here. So we've got 2 to 3. Actually, it should be 2 to 4. Oh, and this guy's back. That guy's rallied. Okay, so 2, 4 to 3. Now that's actually across that, so it's 1 to 1 odds. Because we are firing across a thing here. So 1 to 1. 6. Oh, okay. And then these two are going to fire 2, 4 to 4 to 2, 4. 2 to 1 odds. At 4, this guy's disrupted. Disrupted and disrupted, and then this guy fired, this guy fired. That's it. Okay. Red melee combat. That guy, he was going against those two here, so 2, 5. And then he's got double. So he's got 6, 12, 24 to 5. 5 to 1 odds with a 4 is elimination. So and eliminated, and then these guys can fight with, oh, he's a chariot. Forgot that. Okay, he can't do anything. 2, 4 to 2, 2 to 1 odds with a 4. Disrupted. Here we've got, did he forget to fire? He did fire. Okay. Here we've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 to 2. 5 to 1 odds with a 3 is a disruption. And here we've got 3, 6 to 2. 3 to 1 odds with a 4 is a disruption. And that's it. Okay. Go to our turn record track and we get mutual. Okay, so then I can take off these guys. No longer disrupted. No longer disrupted. No longer disrupted. Okay, I think I got those. Okay, yellow. Chariot move, nothing. Yellow, fire combat. These guys fired already. I don't think I got anybody that can fire now. Yellow movement. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And actually, I don't know. I think I said in the rules that these are count as eliminations. I don't think they do. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's all the further. I think they're just gone. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. And 1, 2. That's all the further he can go. Okay. These guys will move into position. I can at least try to fight back. Red defensive fire, nobody there. Yellow melee combat. Actually, these guys all fired, I think. There's nobody... Oh, they're disrupted. So nothing there. Now I can take off the disruptions. Okay, and that's going to be end of turn. So we take off our moved, we take off our fires, and we advance to 1. It's turn 6. And we start with a chariot combat. And I'm going to go turn around for 1. Two, 3, 4. Oops, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I have K. And that ends. That means that the Hyksos win it. They get their objective. So that's it. Like I said, I think I've played this 4 times now, and it's gone both ways. If the Egyptians are able to hold the Hyksos back for a little while, they can delay them from getting around that mountain and down to the objective K. So that's what I've got. I'm going to probably mess around with this a little more. I don't think it's a perfect system, but I think it's a good system. And I will be doing comparisons with it and the game Ancients and also Command & Colors Ancients, which are a little bit different, but I think they kind of both are these generic systems for ancient warfare. Anyway, that's what I've got. I'll be back next week. Thanks a lot, and bye-bye.